You're listening to Rebel Spirituality with me, Sam Goldfinch. Here's the truth. Wisdom doesn't follow rules. So each week we're going to explore what it means to wake up your way so you can live a more peaceful, creative and inspired life no matter your circumstances. It's time to blaze your unique path to truth. Okay, Rebel, a couple of very quick and exciting announcements. The first one is that the Escape Plan is live, my new program. So if you'd like to enroll in that, just go to the link in the show notes and you can go through and watch videos and look at the information. And come and join us if you'd like to. I'm super, super excited to meet a new group of rebels and go on just an amazing adventure together. The second thing is that soon we'll be back on video. So there was a while where Rebel Spirituality, the podcast and things like that, were going out onto YouTube, and then Lifed and all sorts of things came in. And I obviously have been continually getting the audio podcast out, but that's in the post as well. So stay tuned. And a few of you have reached out and said that you really enjoyed that, you miss it, you'd love to see it again. So that's on the way as well. Okay, that's it. Without further ado, I'll hand you over to me. See you in a sec. Hey, Rebel. So today's podcast is titled, Are You a Self-Help Junkie? It's also kind of in line with a disillusioned spiritual seeker in the sense that you think, God, I've been doing this seeking thing for years upon years upon years, and I still feel like I'm missing something. And I recorded on this title a while ago, about 18 months or so ago. And I continually get updates into this. This seems to be the kind of core of what I'm up to here with Rebel Spirituality, is to work with people who kind of either identify or align with that. They kind of feel like, yeah, that's me. I feel like I'm kind of constantly on this self-help churn, or I'm reading all the books, or I'm going to all the workshops, I'm listening to all the podcasts, ironically. But it's not, this. I'm still waking up and I feel like there's something missing. And I wanted to reflect on that for a minute, because it seems to me that in my life, up until I was about 16 or 17, was sort of when, as my sort of sense of self was developing through my younger years and teenage years, I was seeking even then, I was seeking for kind of safety or solace. And very early, as many of you will know, I found myself drinking and smoking a lot of weed and kind of falling into these habit patterns of trying to find safety away from the seemingly constant noise in my head that was pulling me this way and that way. And so it was already there. I was already on the hunt for something. It already felt like something wasn't right. And then when I stumbled into the Power Now by Eckhart Tolle when I was about 17 or 18, it really just changed things for me, because suddenly for the first time I got this hit of just like, oh, what if there's nothing wrong? Like, what if actually you've just been identifying with a bunch of noise in your head, and that you've been convinced that that's who you are, and that's not actually who you are? And I had this huge wave of relief, and that activated another kind of form of seeking. It was like, wow, there is something that can give me this. It was funny because I was kind of shown everything that I needed to see. I was shown that right now in this moment, outside of the noise that the mind is making, of course, this moment is fine. The mind may label things as positive, negative, good or bad, but actually in the isness of this moment, in the space before words, as I call it, it just is as it is, okay? And there is the idea of not being enough is an idea. It's not a reality. And so I'd seen that, and at the same time kind of missed it. I hadn't fully got the memo. And so for the next 15 years, I did all the cliche spiritual seeking stuff. And at the beginning, it was really exciting. I was reading the books and hanging out in W.H. Smith's, sort of like with my second home. There sort of wasn't a book in the self-help or spirituality section that I hadn't at least nosed through, if not read. And it was exciting. And I would feel this lightness, and, I'd be reading the book and I'd be like, oh, this is it. Here I am. I finally feel home. I feel like I'm really kind of getting somewhere. And then at some point my humanness would show up and I'd feel uncomfortable or whatever. And I'd add meaning and interpret that as thinking, oh, there's something wrong. And then I'd go off again. And after a while, that started to have a weight to it. It started to become heavy. So as I say, at the beginning, it was light and it was exciting. And then the weight got heavier and heavier. And after a decade of that, I sort of, as I say, started to get a bit disillusioned with the whole thing. And That was until I stumbled into the 3 principles, or the inside-out understanding, as you have heard me talk about a lot on this podcast. And that's one of the reasons I'm so kind of passionate about sharing it. And I'm always sharing it, whether I'm talking about that kind of understanding explicitly or whether we're kind of just exploring something together. I'm always coming from the grounding that understanding has given me. And that understanding has opened up the world of many other traditions in a really different way, non-duality, and many of the kind of ancient things that kind of felt a little bit out of grasp, or that I had an intellectual kind of grasp of. They've really become embodied, and it's changed a lot of things for me. And as I see it, this question, why do any of us seek? It has a pretty simple answer. It's because we think we're missing something. And what is the part of us that thinks it's kind of missing something, or has hoodwinked us into thinking that? Well, it's the idea of this separate self here, this belief in separation, this ego that shows up when we believe that we're separate from life. And the only thing that's truly going to wake us up to the truth is coming to see that that's not true. And so that's what's at the heart of everything I'm up to. And whether you're listening to these podcasts or coming to be a part of the escape plan or any of my other things that I have planned for the future, that's what we're exploring together. Not in a kind of intellectual, nice philosophical sense, but really looking at it so that we can get a hit of that. And I don't know when it will happen for people or how, all that kind of stuff, but I've seen it happen. And the inside-out understanding, as I see it, is incredibly open. Everybody's welcome. It's not esoteric. It's not hard to understand in many ways. It can be counter to how we think things have worked, and so it can be very disruptive. And I think I honor that. If our current way of relating to the world hasn't been working for us, then it makes sense that we're going to need a new and disruptive way of looking at things, right? So yeah, that's I think that's it. Just know that if you align with that, if you feel like that's you, that's seeking, it doesn't, that you can absolutely have an insight that will change that for you. And just hanging out in spaces where you hear truth is a wonderful way to explore that. So, that said, if you want to come and hang out with me, you can always go and explore all the information about programs and stuff in the show notes, or just keep listening to these podcasts and coming to any calls that I run or anything like that. And yeah. Okay, Rebel, I hope you have a beautiful day. And yeah, what if there's absolutely nothing wrong with you? What if you've just been believing in a bunch of noise in your head? And what if even that idea of being a self-help junkie or whatever can fall away, and in its space this can show up, the wholeness that you are. See you soon.